There was a interesting feature in the last issue of AMI about the psychic income.
Oh, yeah.
Which sounds like a sort of wellness pyramid scheme or something. But it's this idea, and it comes from America, that large events, when they take place in a city, give a sort of feel-good factor to the local residents, and that's actually worth something. The kind of excitement of hosting a big event, some of the infrastructure, the developments that come out of hosting a big events, that's quantifiable, and it's called the psychic income.
Okay.
So
it sounds kind of related to legacy, but not quite. Is that right?
It sounds like, it's quite nebulous concept in a way. It's kind of like it's guessing how people feel about it. So I guess it's like kind of wellness economy. How well do your residents feel about themselves? It's a kind of alternative to GDP almost in a way.
I can think of specific examples of events that have been held. Like, for example, I was living in London during the 2012 Olympics, and there was a genuine kind of feel-good factor around the city during that time. And more recently, I was up in Liverpool last year for Eurovision, and that was incredible. And they had all the banners up, and there was a proper kind of party atmosphere all around the city. Yeah. But there was a genuine pride in the city that they were hosting that event.
There's a woman called Dr. Emma Delaney who works at Surrey University in the UK, and she's doing some research into this. She's trying to research if large international conferences have the same effect, basically, of large sporting events or big pop concerts.
Yeah.
I think the problem there is, does anybody know that the International Association of blah, blah, blah is meeting in your home city? Unless CVBs actually promote it, no one's going to know. But I remember when I lived in Brighton, driving past the Brighton Centre, and that occasionally there'd be something like that on the board outside the Brighton Centre.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sort of international conference. And it does give you a sense of pride that they're choosing your city.
They've got the little flags up, and you can see where people have come from, and it's like all these top kind of academics or whoever have come to your city. Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, I think so. And so if that can be proven to be a thing, the psychic income, then that might be another kind of cause for justification for the business events industry, if it needs justifying. We always have this conversation.
Yeah, that is a different conversation, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. If you're going to prove a psychic income, you do need the CVBs on board, the DMOs on board, and the people who are actually organising the events on board as well.
And do you need to open up the events themselves or the venues to the wider community and get people in and involve them in, because coming back to Florence, I was reading, because there's the Academia, which is the museum where Michelangelo's David is. And obviously that's the most famous sculpture in the world, basically. And everyone goes there to go and take a picture or a selfie of themselves with David. And I was reading an interview with the director of that museum, and she was basically saying to kind of reconnect the museum with the residents of Florence. They were putting on free events, and they open up the museum for free the first Sunday of every month, and they're basically trying to re-establish that connection between the museum and the city. And maybe if, I don't know, venues could do a similar thing.
Yeah, well, you've seen International Association conferences do that. So medical conferences, particularly sort of cardiology or thrombosis or whatever, they will have sessions in local primary schools. They'll do kind of workshops, and they'll have kind of mobile heart monitor stations and all that kind of thing. So they do try and get that kind of public interaction. Otherwise, these conferences go into a box in the middle of a city. Everyone talks for 3 days and then disappears, and there's no lasting tangible benefit. But that, I think, would definitely play into the psychic income. Yeah, I think that would help prove it at least. Yeah.